All right, welcome back to Bayou Time. Very pleased to have the Superintendent of Catholic Schools for the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux, Dr. Mark Williams, with us. There you see Dr. Williams and that sparkling bow tie. You got to love it here on Bayou Time. Good to have you here, Doc.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
No doubt. And our next guest, I want to introduce her, Ms. Jerry Byrne, the Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux. Normally that would make me nervous, curriculum, but welcome aboard. I know you do a great job.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure
All
to
right,
be here.
so between both of you, 49 years of Catholic leadership. But I want to find out where it all got started. Dr. Mark, let's start with you. Where did you spend most of your time, and did you grow up in the Catholic school system?
I grew up in the Catholic school system. I was educated from my kindergarten days in Catholic school. I went to Catholic school and up through Catholic school all my life. I began my first job in Catholic schools. I've spent a career as a teacher, a coach, a department chair, eventually becoming a dean, an assistant principal. I spent 5 years as the principal of Archbishop Shaw High School in Marrero, Louisiana. I have been serving as associate superintendent of secondary schools in the Archdiocese of New Orleans, where we have 23 high schools, and work with those leaders, and really enjoyed every moment in Catholic education.
And before I get to Jerry, what intrigued you about this job in the Houma-Thibodaux area?
Well, I am no stranger to this area. I have lived in Thibodaux before. I did do some of my undergraduate work at Nichols, and I have great memories of this area. I love the towns of Thibodaux and Houma and the Bayou region as a whole. My brother, David, had a camp in Grand Isle we would frequent growing up, and this is just like home to me. This does not feel like unfamiliar territory.
Yeah. You come into a very successful surrounding, very popular bishop who's now an archbishop. So what changes, if any, would you come in and make, or would you just look over the horizon and see what's happening?
With what schools have experienced over the last 3 years, and really with the exclamation point of Hurricane Ida, I would not be in a great hurry to make any significant changes. I think it would be best to make sure that I am following the lead set by Father PJ. And I think that it would be best for me to do all that I can to passionately and vigorously support our school leadership as we get back to normal.
Right. Did you know Father PJ before the interview?
I did not, but he's a wonderful man, and I am so blessed to have met him.
And he's very colorful.
He is. He very much
He's
so.
funny. He's a funny kind of guy.
He's a great guy.
But when he gets serious, he gets serious.
I am sure that he didn't get to that position by not being serious when he had to.
No
has to
doubt.
be.
And I want to turn to Miss Jerry now, because curriculum is always, it's sort of a scary word when you think about it when you're a student that has to follow curriculum. But what attracted you to this job opening in Houma-Thibodaux?
Well, I was actually there for the past year and a half, strictly curriculum specialist for the diocese. I am passionate about the integration of Catholic standards into our curriculum. So if you're asking me about the curriculum, that's my number one task and focus. Beyond that, yes, academic excellence is always very important. So we will work very diligently to adhere to all the standards for math and science and English so that we know our graduates are well prepared for the world beyond high school, wherever they choose to go. If they're going into a university, or some of them are going straight into work, but we want them to be very prepared. But I have to repeat, my number one is that Catholic integration into all content areas.
Now, you've had 29, am I right, 29
Yes, sir.
years experience?
Yes, sir.
So obviously, you don't just wake up one day and go, okay, I'm Jerry Byrne, and I'm meticulous about what I do, and I'm very thorough about what I do. I normally find people in these positions, it's a trait. When did you know that you were like that and you had what it took to make this kind of thing work?
You know, I think every day I am discovering something God is putting in my presence that makes me realize that. It's going to bring me to, I think, a love of learning. A love of learning is the number one skill and attribute that I have that brings me to this curriculum position. And it's something that I want to pass on to students.
I want to talk about standards. Because, of course, when I went to Vanderbilt and all my siblings went to Vanderbilt, of course, my parents had standards too.
Mm-hmm.
Standards could be here, or standards can be here. It just depends on, first of all, can you attain it? Who are you working with? What's your goal, Doc? What do you see? Are you going to set the bar real high? And what are your goals with it?
Well, in all of education, Catholic or public, it's a continuous level of improvement is the goal. But the standards that we will embrace are going to be what we call NSBECs, the National Standards and Benchmarks for Excellent Catholic Schools. Those standards are divided into 4 domains. Domain 1, and most importantly, is Catholic identity. What will those standards be? Well, it's very clear what they are. Jerry will operate primarily in the domain of academic excellence. We want our schools, canon law calls for our schools to be excellent in every way. In academics, no different. We want to be excellent, and we want to always strive for improvement. Another domain, leadership and governance, we always want to focus on being good leaders and being good stewards of our resources. And then finally, operational vitality. We want to have balanced budgets. We want to make sure our schools and our facilities are able to meet the mission of each and every school, even if there's differences in each one. So it's much, much more than just academic standards. It is a holistic approach to education. And honestly, that is exactly what we want to do. We want to educate the whole child, morally, spiritually, academically, physically, social, emotionally. We want to find ways more than ever to partner with parents. So what they get at school, they can also be reinforced at home. So the NSBECs, the National Standards and Benchmarks for Excellent Catholic Schools, that's the language that we're going to speak.
So that standard has already been written. And you just have to make sure you pursue it and follow it. Sports is a big part too, isn't it? You come from a sports, New Orleans had a big sports facility, you know?
I think when we talk about educating the whole child, I would be remiss if I did not strongly emphasize the importance of not only sports, but all co-curricular activities. Let me give you an example. Jerry and I work as a team, and we work with others in the pastoral center as a team. Well, sports teaches students to work as a team. It teaches everyone to work together for a common good. You know, when a football player, gets in the huddle, he's not worried about anything else other than working with his teammates to make the play a success. That's the same thing that we're trying to do in the school, is work as a team for the best interests of the student. And then for so many other reasons as well, socialization, getting to meet people, genuinely learning how to communicate. It's really our goal to educate the whole child.
Jerry, when you're trying to put together a curriculum, how do you get so many people on the same page? That's got to be a chore, isn't it?
It is, but when you're passionate, it makes it a lot easier. And I'm going to mention a workshop that I had with representatives from each of our schools last week. And when they were introducing themselves as educators in our Catholic schools, the number one thing that they all mentioned was the Catholic identity. Dr. Mark talked about, sports just now. Well, that's another place where Catholic identity can shine. And our prayers before practices, and our prayers in the huddle before they go out, and those things do happen. So I'm just gonna feel like a broken record, but it's Catholic identity integrated throughout what we do.
And it's just so great to see that spirit across all the Catholic schools. And it's changed over the years. I remember when we played ball against E.D. White and I was at Vanderbilt, it was war. Now there's a lot more spirituality involved in there. They got to pray together, don't they? So how do you sell that to coaches who want to go out and win the game so bad, but then at the end they all hold hands and pray?
I think from my experience, when I used to try my very best to communicate to the coaches, is the following. You have to be a great role model for your players. The players are looking up to you. They love the coaches. If they're going to play the sport, and you're often spending so much time with them, it is imperative that you provide a great role model for these young men or young women, and praying and showing them that it's part of our Catholic identity and our DNA as Catholics to pray and ask God, for his forgiveness, for his blessing, for his protection, or whatever it is. So I would say, and I've had the greatest success as a principal in trying to communicate that with the coaches and ingraining that in our meetings and our discussion.
When you come into a system like Houma-Thibodaux, and you're from New Orleans, two different thought processes. And then you go across the hallway, and there's Jerry with 29 years of experience right here in the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux. It's got to make you feel pretty good.
It does. I would say one word, blessing. That is a blessing. And the reason, and it's already happened because we have already talked and exchanged emails and where we said, oh, well, this would be better like this. I mean, and just the collaboration from two different perspectives is a blessing. So what happens is, in my opinion, is the synergy is created where, the sum of both of us is greater than each of us in two individual parts. Like,
did y'all know each other before, or you just met through this process?
We just met through this process, but I do think that she has seen excellence. I have seen excellence. And when we both come together to collaborate on the schools in this diocese, it's going to be good because we will be able to take all of the pieces of pedagogy that's good here, the good pieces of leadership or instruction that's good there, and come to best practices for the good of the schools and the leaders.
Here's a tough question. New Orleans, got nephews that went to Jesuit. Whole different philosophy, New Orleans, Houma-Thibodaux. I'm sure there's some parts you could marry. Is that your thought process?
Well, the one thing, there are many, many differences, but the one common denominator is our Catholic faith. And whether we're in Houma-Thibodaux or whether we're in New Orleans or on the North Shore or out in Slidell, the Catholic identity is exactly the same. The teachings of Jesus Christ and the Gospels and the lessons that we can learn from those writings and teachings are exactly the same. And the different charisms of each one of the schools, whether it's Jesuit, or whether it is Vanderbilt Catholic or E.D. White, the charism that is being taught in the schools may be a little bit different.
Or if you want to make Jerry really happy, you got to say Central Catholic too.
Or Central Catholic.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, and let me ask you something, Jerry. Where did you first realize what faith was all about? Somebody has to teach you that. Where did you get it from?
I am a product of our Catholic schools in the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux. I actually attended Sacred Heart Elementary, which closed a number of years ago. And I taught at Holy Cross, which is now part of Central Catholic.
Right.
And I actually taught at the high school as well. So it was ingrained very early on. And to, if I can, expound on what Dr. Mark said too, I am excited about this partnership. While all of my experience is here in the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux, I always want to look outside the box, as you just mentioned. And I feel that already we have collaborated because we do have the one focus of Catholic identity. And we do not waver on that, it doesn't seem. So I look forward to the collaboration that we have.
And as we talked about Father PJ, who is very capable and he's really serving as the bishop. I mean, but we're awaiting a bishop. So does that throw a clog in the works, or do you just go about business as usual?
I think what we're going to do is Jerry and I are going to take our specific directive from Father PJ, and we're going to operate within the context and contextualization that he provides for us, and we're going to serve him loyally with vigor every day. And when the new bishop is appointed, he will direct us, and we will do our very best to adapt to the context that he provides for us, and how he sees his vision of Catholic education in the diocese. And I think I've always been a very adaptable person, and I think that I expect it to hold true in this case as well.
And I know that you're on the public, TV station right now to reach people, but any ideas on when big meetings will occur when you're meeting with parents and all coming up?
Well, the calendar is something that all the schools already have the calendar planned. In the next couple of weeks, Jerry and I, we're currently working on that. We do have some early, very important dates planned now. And she could tell you a lot more about those dates and times, specifically the
So you have your tour
August
have
third.
ready to go.
We do.
Yes,
we
and
do.
what we're going to do is pretty much have a calendar of events for leaders, for counselors, for admissions people, for whatever it takes for us to achieve the mission of the diocese and the mission of the Office of Catholic Schools and the directives of Father PJ.
All right. I want to thank y'all. We're about out of time, but come on anytime. Fill us in. And it's unusual Lonnie's not be with you. I see him over there with his shoulder brace on recovering. So but thank y'all for joining us, and good luck, and look forward to talking to y'all again.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Okay, there you have it. The leadership of the Diocese of Houma-Thibodaux. We'll be right back.